Why, hello there.
Hello there.
So I finally jumped on the bandwagon of doing everything I watched last month on Letterboxd videos. I've considered doing this kind of thing for a while now, but figured now's as good a time as any, even though this video will probably be going up in mid to late April at this point, but who really gives a shit? Unfortunately, YouTube likes to reward people who complain about Marvel, DC, and Star Wars, and severely limits what you can actually talk about if you want to get more than 10 fucking views. But hey, I figured this format would be a good opportunity to recommend some great films and talk about a wide range of movies, and also warn you to stay away from the fucking garbage that I watched last month. Now, before we start, I'm sure I'll see a bunch of
How could you review that positively if I don't like it?
How could you not give that a 10 if I liked it? How could you review that film negatively if it's a classic?
I'm mentioning 42 different films in this video. There's no way you're going to agree with me on even 50% of this, nor should you. This is literally nothing more than the way that I experience these films based on my countless biases and personal preferences. Just kidding, make sure to use the dislike button as a disagree button and leave 500 comments about why I'm wrong for not liking Toy Story 4. So this loose ranking is going to be broken down into recommendations, films I thought were decent, films I thought were and garbage that you should definitely avoid. Oh, and by recommendations, I mean films that you've definitely heard of and have probably already seen. Lastly, this is probably going to be a more laid back and a casual video, so don't expect a meme every 3 seconds. Just fucking kidding. Here's a bunch of dumb shit.
Is this the fucking MTV
dang,
Movie
nice,
Awards?
awesome.
It's a beefy runtime.
It's bullshit.
Complains about not wanting to talk about comic book films. Instantly talks about a comic book film. I actually hadn't seen The Dark Knight in like 5 fucking years, despite it being one of my absolute favorite films. And you know what? It's one of those rare films where, as absolutely circle-jerked as it is, it deserves every single ounce of praise that it gets. I mean, shit, it might even be a bit underrated at this point due to the dropped on their heads as a child crowd who claim,
Oh, it's actually bullshit, and Heath Ledger's Joker's the only good thing about it. I'm gonna give this shit a 2 out of 10.
like, really? There's nothing else to like? Like, yeah, Heath Ledger gives one of the best performances in the history of cinema, but it's not like I'm sitting there with nothing else to appreciate. I mean, literally every single aspect of this film is fucking excellence. I mean, most films fail to craft even one memorable scene. This film has about 10 of the best scenes of all time, with 3 of them being basically back to back to back. It's hard to condense my thoughts on one of my favorite films in like a minute, but if I were to put it simply, The Dark Knight's pretty much just a masterclass in character-driven storytelling and story-driven action. Like, this is one of the best action scenes of all time, not only because of the amazing direction and practical effects, but because the film actually builds up to it and it fucking matters. And it's not just a bunch of dumb shit on the screen. It also features some of Nolan's best cross-cutting. I mean, this scene is fucking fantastic, and the way that it cuts between all these tonally different scenes, with the Dat Zimmer score building up to the resolution. Black Swan is fucking fantastic.
It's fantastic.
It's hard to pinpoint exactly what the best quality of this film is, because every aspect of this film just comes together so well to make the story engaging. Great performances across the board. You know, I forgot just how fucking weird every character relationship in this film is. Vincent Cassel, what a creepy bastard. I like how the film works on such a straightforward level, yet at the same time there's all these small lines of dialogue that reveal these kind of hints of these just weird layers to the characters when you think about them more after you watch the film. Fantastic cinematography as well. There's tons of mirrors in the film, which is obviously used to emphasize its main theme of duality. And it's used in a way that never comes across as overt and cheesy, but just gives the film a really unique look. The way that the camera really just literally dances around the actors in a really fluid fashion. It's the kind of cinematography that's just the epitome of it being used to complement the actual storytelling. Next, I rewatched Batman Begins because I rewatched the entire trilogy. I would say that the film was a little bit less great than I remembered, but it's still fantastic.
Say that again? It's fantastic.
What really stood out in this viewing was Christian Bale and Michael Caine's dynamic. Their chemistry is great, and they're super fun to watch. The character development's just super in-depth, and I think I started to appreciate Wally Pfister's cinematography more on this viewing. He has a great use of wides, which look great on the landscape shots especially. It also has a healthy dose of, "That was fucking awesome!"
If you want my opinion, you need to lighten up.
Yeah, boy! I'll also say as a nitpick, I did not remember this line of dialogue. What the fuck was this? It was so funny.
Familia, don't you have anything new? How about this? How about this?
I finally watched Oldboy. It had been on my watch list forever. Yeah, I hadn't seen it. And yeah, it was pretty great. Though I would really still prefer a dubbed version.
I would still really much like to have a dubbed version.
The setup in this film is some of the best I've seen in a while. It's just instantly like, okay, shit, I'm on board with this. Within just like the first few seconds of the film. It's the most invested I've been in a character in a while. It's instantly engaging, it establishes its characters in a very real way, where you can't wait to watch this guy kick the shit out of people because you actually care about him. It's just top-notch in terms of direction, and do I really need to talk about the hallway scene? It's been talked to death at this point, but it's just
Brilliant.
Next up, I rewatched Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one. I need to start going through these faster so this video isn't an hour long. And there's a certain other film in the series that I rewatched that I want to spend more time talking about, so the film holds up though. You know, it honestly reminded me of Star Wars a little bit, just in the way it establishes its characters so well, and the simplicity of the storytelling, the presence of music. Ah, here we go. Here's the film that I want to talk about. Okay, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. I remembered not liking this movie, or I remember it being not good. Turns out, this film is fucking amazing. I would kind of consider it a masterpiece. No film has ever exemplified and then screenwriting in the way that Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End does. This film features a society of pirate lords whose power comes from 9 pieces of 8, which end up just being whatever dryer lint they can find in their pockets. It also features them going into a maelstrom for some reason. Also, up is down, whatever the fuck that means. It's not even theorizing if the writers were on acid. I mean, it's pretty fucking clear that they were. This movie's batshit insane. And I think I love this film for the exact reason that most people hate it. Name another film that costs this much money, $300 million, that is this insane, yet takes itself so seriously. You literally can't. On top of all this, the film looks great on a technical level. It has one of the best scores of all time. Like, holy shit, One Day is one of the best pieces of film score ever written. And despite the film being absolutely insane, it still surprisingly manages to ground its emotional moments. It's really weird. It's kind of genius. It's kind of a masterpiece. Totally love it. It surprisingly only gets better the more I think about it. The first one might be the best film of the series, but depending on how you describe best, then this one actually might be the best. You know, I might even give this an 8 the next time I watch it. It's pretty fucking awesome. This film will be revered in years to come, studied by film scholars. It's really just the epitome of this scene from Back to the Future.
Guess you guys aren't ready for that yet. But you kids are gonna love it.
Next up, Dead Man's Chest, also better than I remembered, incredibly underrated. Don't need to spend forever talking about it, but yeah, man. Love the way Gore Verbinski directs this thing, and the soundtrack kicks fucking ass. Next, I watched Mary and Max, a very weird film that ends up being pretty fucking depressing by the end of it, actually. The color palette's drab as shit, intentionally so. Just has a very awkward and weird sense of humor that I appreciated. It's also nice to see films in the animation genre that deal with themes like alcoholism, suicide, mental illness, instead of, you know, surface level shallow bullshit. Next up, The Dark Knight Rises. This screenplay is a fucking mess. Like, it was certainly worse than I remembered. It's definitely the Return of the Jedi of this trilogy. That being said, it still works overall, and there's plenty to like about it. Namely, Bane, Catwoman, the score.
Jesus, Costier.
Next up, I watched Dario Argento's Suspiria. This film really excels on tone and atmosphere, as one of the most memorable scores I've heard in a while. Yeah, boy! And the cinematography is fucking amazing. Definitely looking forward to adding this to the collection at some point. Next up is Moonlight. This beat my favorite film of all time for Best Picture, and it's not better. That means it fucking sucks!
There's a mistake.
Wow, you are funny.
Now, but in all seriousness, I did very much enjoy this film. The narrative structure is probably my favorite aspect about it. I liked how every act felt super distinct, and it's also one of those films where every act just gets better than the last. These next two sections, I won't be spending too much time on the films in here. I'll just say something quick about them, just because I don't feel strongly, positively, or negatively. Oh no, I didn't give Donnie Darko a 10 out of 10. What is this heresy? Yeah, still enjoyed it. I'm just not a fan of these films where you have to overanalyze the shit out of it to even fully enjoy it, though.
Good movie. I enjoyed myself.
Enemy, I could pretty much say the same thing about. Denis Villeneuve's one of my absolute favorite directors, and this is not my favorite film by him, but I still enjoyed it. 8th Grade was surprisingly very enjoyable. I remember seeing the trailers when this was coming out and being like, that looks like dog shit, but it turns out it was actually not dog shit.
I love small indie films. I went and saw a movie today called 8th Grade. Never even saw a trailer. I heard a lot of good things about it, so I went to go see it. Good movie. I enjoyed myself.
The best quality of this film is probably the main performance, and also how it doesn't feel like it's just some boomer writing awkward dialogue for kids. Midsommar. Watch this one with the whole family. I'd say I pretty much feel the same way I do about this as Hereditary. I like this probably a little bit more. Ari Aster clearly has a technical craft to his films, and I enjoy them, but I just don't connect with them for whatever reason. Still enjoyed it, though. Speaking of weird and disturbing films, Dogtooth by Yorgos Lanthimos. Yeah, I casually threw this on at about, like, midnight, and I didn't realize that it would be some film in Greek subtitles with a bunch of weird shit, so yeah, check it out though, it's good and disturbing. What We Do in the Shadows. I like this film. Some of the comedy does not land, but when it does, it's fucking hilarious. Very much enjoy Green Room. It's extremely tense and skillfully uses graphic violence in a way that's not gratuitous. The Squid and the Whale by Noah Baumbach. Decent, nowhere near as good as Marriage Story. Oh no, it's blasphemy. I didn't give Ghostbusters a 10 out of 10. It's the end of the world. Yeah, I still like this film. I don't find it as funny as most people, I guess, and anything with Sigourney Weaver and Rick Moranis just really drags the film to a halt for me personally. But yeah, it's still good. It's still better than most 80s crap like, I don't know, Goonies or whatever the fuck.
So was my childhood, you know, in the 80s there were movies about kids that would go on adventures and find treasure and do cool stuff, and today they don't do nothing, just sit with their heads in their smartphones.
Okay, boomer.
Hell or High Water. I don't get the hype around this. I thought it was decent, yet at the same time it was extremely in one ear and out the other for me. Spectacular Now was kind of generic. It certainly became better as it went along though. Bullitt. Kind of the Diet Coke version of The French Connection, but it's still decent. The Umbrellas of I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of this because I'm a dumbass American. I'd say the best aspects of this were the cinematography, production design, and the ending. It became largely repetitive for the first two acts for me personally, but there's still plenty to appreciate. Locke. Yeah, I'm never gonna watch this or ever think about it again. It was fine, I guess. Beetlejuice kind of exhausts its premise and definitely feels longer than the runtime, but it's still some fun schlock. Boy, this film is fucking hilarious, but the technical craft is fucking garbage. I literally had to downgrade the film because of that. Solid script, but it looks like it was shot in someone's backyard, and it looks like shit. Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, I remembered this being trash, and it's actually fine. Like, it's not particularly great, but it was watchable.
However,
It has some of the worst temp tracking I have ever heard in a film. Like, 90% of this is literally just copy and pasted already recorded cues. Batman 1989, I love the score. I don't hate this movie or anything, but the script is just so... like, the character motivations are just so fucking vague and nonsensical, and it just kind of feels like a bunch of shit happening more than an actual plot, because you don't know why anyone does anything that they do, and you don't give a shit about the characters. Under the Skin, amazing score, some very good moments of cinematography. It kind of just felt like someone who wasn't Kubrick, though, thought,
Ew, I want to make my own 2001 A Space Odyssey.
it was incredibly meandering and repetitive, with hardly anything going on unless you want to overanalyze the fuck out of it.
It's really a film about death and rebirth and sexuality and what it means to be human, what it means to have a soul.
Of course you're allowed to love this movie, but just don't give me that bullshit of,
It's only for intellectuals. You can't enjoy it if you're not an intellectual like me.
Gremlins. Yeah, this was just a bunch of nothing for me. Classic 80s mediocrity. I'm sorry if this is your favorite film and I'm shitting on it. Rian Johnson is one of those people who I don't really outright love anything that he's done, but I find him interesting enough to watch anything that he makes. But yeah, this was just lame as fuck. I can hardly remember that I even watched it. Top Gun. It's pretty good if you like to jerk off to airplanes, I guess. Hail Caesar. I love the Coen brothers. I did not care for this at all. It felt really up its own ass and like it thought it was way funnier than it actually was. And what do you know? Alden Ehrenreich is shit in everything.
wow! What do you know?
Hey, I got us a real sweet deal here.
The Maltese Falcon, I guess this is credited as being the first major film noir, and I didn't find any aspect of this particularly exceptional at all. Maybe I'm missing something, but I kinda just wish that I was watching Chinatown instead for the entire runtime. Maybe I'm just a dumbass who missed something really obvious, but I think it's kinda weird that this is put up on such a pedestal when there's so many better noir films. I'm not a fan of the it's the best because it came first mentality. Toy Story 4, in case you like seeing the same thematic beats mulled over and beaten to death for a fourth time. Even the people who loved this movie when it came out are just like, oh yeah, I completely forgot about that by the end of the year. It's just emotionally manipulative, creatively bankrupt, and it's a whole bunch of who gives a fuck.
Bullshit. That's how I feel. Total fucking bullshit.
Okay, I'm probably gonna get some shit for this one, but I don't really care. I hate Western films.
With a few exceptions.
They're incredibly monotonous and just the same shit over and over again. It's kind of the superhero genre of the 1960s. And I don't get what I'm supposed to like about this film because it was just incredibly bland, dragged the fuck on, had hardly any story, and the characters were just generic archetypes who would be much more fun to watch if I'd never seen a film before. In terms of direction, this literally just felt like an episode of The Waltons. The only praise I ever see for this film is just, ow, the leads are so good together. Does that really make it an amazing film? Can we get Ed Wood? No, we have Ed Wood at home. Ed Wood at home. From the second that this film opened up with J.J. Abrams talking about,
Man, the first time that I saw The Room, I was like, what is this, man?
I just wanted to kill myself.
The numbers probably prove how unlikely it is that you'll make it. I was blown away. Like 3 minutes in, I turned my finger. This is the fucking greatest movie I've ever seen in my life.
What genius is behind this?
This is what happens when you get a bunch of idiotic, out-of-touch Hollywood elites trying to get in on the joke of a cult classic. The script for this film was fucking garbage, full of non-stop cliches, complete with even the, "Oh, I love this song, come dance with me while I embarrass myself while I'm drunk at this bar." The performances were fucking embarrassing, all the emotional moments were shallow and cheesy, and it was full of non-stop pandering moments of, "Chase your dreams." In regards to that, it literally just felt like the Walmart version of La La Land. Anytime Dave Franco said,
Dude, I did it because we're friends.
it was hilarious because it felt just like The Room.
Johnny's my best friend.
Also, any scene of Seth Rogen commentating for people who hadn't seen The Room, like, "Dude, why is he fucking her belly button? Oh, this is so weird." It's like, yes, I've seen The Room. I'd rather just watch that. This feels, it was so annoying. Anchorman. I used to love this film, but rewatching it, it held up like a house of cards during a tornado. I literally didn't laugh once while watching this, and there were plenty of moments that were so unfunny that it was outright embarrassing that they even left them in the final product. The extent of this film on a technical level is literally just, it's in focus and they remembered to remove the lens cap.
Oh. That's nice.
Chronicle, I guess I get why people like this movie, but for me, it was just cringe as fuck. Dane DeHaan continues to be quite possibly one of the worst actors on the planet.
Because we're his mistress.
Ah, yes. Captain Marvel. I finally saw this, Jim, and it was so forgettable that it feels like I already watched it a year ago. Thank you, DVD Netflix, for letting me rent hilarious garbage like this without having to directly pay for it. It wasn't even as bad as I thought it'd be, it was just lame as fuck. It was just every cliched character has amnesia movie ever. It literally just felt like this was directed by no one because it had so little personality. It was fucking hilarious when a lame action scene would start and the stock sounding music literally had to tell you that it was supposed to be exciting because the direction on its own was just so dull. I started to work on a long form review of this a la my Home Alone 4 video but kind of stopped. So yeah, if that's something you'd be interested in seeing, just let me know and maybe I'll get that shit back into production. Last but certainly least was mid-90s. The main character started out as an annoying little bitch and eventually became a complete fuck-up. Wow, what a great character arc. It was literally just 85 minutes straight of non-stop hateable and annoying characters, and it was miserable to watch.
Shut the fuck up! Hey, you shut up! Shut the fuck up! Shut up! Shut up! I just want Shut up!
Bullshit. That's how I feel. Total fucking bullshit.
If you can watch a film with a punk-ass 13-year-old literally yelling "shut the fuck up" to his mom and not find it hateable and annoying, then good for you. I can't. I don't have a problem with films having unlikable characters in any way, but when there's no real purpose to it, and there's certainly no technical craft on display, then it's just fucking annoying. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up the video. Definitely make sure to follow me on Letterboxd so you can keep up with what films I'm watching, as well as some crappy written reviews. And make sure to let me know what you think of this kind of video, like if you like this kind of longer form content, or if you wish it was shorter. I'm kind of testing the waters with this, so if you enjoyed this video, then leaving a like goes a long way to let me know how many people are interested in this kind of thing.
3 likes coming up, bitch. Gotta go back to talking about Lord Feige's masterpieces if you want those sweet views. Ha 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 ha.
So yeah, comment your thoughts, definitely share the video, and make sure to comment what your favorite and least favorite films you watched recently were. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching!
the 80s, there were movies about kids that would go on adventures and find treasure and do cool stuff, and today, they don't do nothing, just sit with their heads in their smartphones.